to his fellow man, if possible, to be useful to many, failing this to be useful to a few, failing this to be useful to his neighbors, and failing this to himself. When he helps others, he advances the general interest of mankind. I think Seneca's most important work is not his political work, it's his writing. His writing is what survives to us today. What I did it from no man, nor should it be stained with another man's blood? Wealth acquired without harm to any man without base dealing is no less honorable, and it should make no man groan except the spiteful. And this is true, as the problem is, Seneca did get blood-stained when he got from Nero. But his point was that a philosopher could be rich. What mattered is, were you indifferent to the wealth? If you had the wealth, you should enjoy it. In fact, Marx really says this about his stepfather Antoninus. He says what makes Antoninus great is that while he had abundance, he enjoyed it, but when it was gone or when it wasn't there, he didn't miss it. But in the end, Nero turns on Seneca, or Seneca turns on Nero, and Seneca is driven from public life one more time. And this is, I think, where he spends the rest of his life doing his most important work. He says the duty of a man is to be useful to his fellow man. man, if possible, to be useful to many, failing this to be useful to a few, failing this to be useful to his neighbors, and failing this to himself. When he helps others, he advances the general interest of mankind. I think Seneca's most important work is not his political work, it's his writing. His writing is what survives to us today, what I hope you will start reading. He knew what it was like to be successful, and he knew that the real purpose was doing this philosophical work. He spent the last 3 years of his life completing his books and letters, and towards the end he reflects, he says, my days have this one goal, as do my nights. He says, "This is my daily task in my study, to do away with old evils. Before I came old, I took care to live well, and in old age, I take care to die well." And that is ultimately one of the most prevalent themes in all of Seneca's writings, is death. Seneca says the time that passes belongs to death. So it's like, for me, I shouldn't think of death as something that might come 4 years from now. If I'm 34 right now, then maybe I'm lucky to live to be 80, so I got, 45 or so years. I should think of death as something that's already happened to me. I've already died 33 years. And so how we spend our time is what makes death either a tragedy or simply the final chapter on a wonderful life. And in the end, Seneca is forced to make good on all of his teachings. Nero suspects that Seneca has conspired against him, puts to death some of Seneca's closest family members and friends, and ultimately comes for Seneca too. Seneca has been out of power for several years when Nero's goons come for him and demand his suicide. And Seneca now has to meet death bravely because he's written about it so much. And so he goes bravely to his death. First, he slits his wrist, but he's too old and lean for this to work. Then he takes poison. That doesn't work. And finally, he's smothered to death in the bath. He meets this death as something that he had been, in effect, preparing for his entire life, because it's true. It becomes his greatest moment. It's captured in many beautiful paintings. It becomes sort of an inspiration of resistance to tyrants everywhere, kind of the idea that we can be dignified even in our last moments. And he said, look, yes, Nero is taking my life, but in the end, evil drinks the largest of its own poison. And he knew that ultimately it was better to be him than to be Nero. I think Seneca is one of the most accessible and readable of all the Stoics, in part because he's not writing these complicated philosophy texts. In fact, his best writing comes to us in the form of letters. Hundreds of letters from Seneca to his friend Lucilius survive. The second letter, I think, captures a great way to think about Seneca. He says, "You should be extending your stay among writers whose genius is unquestionable, deriving constant nourishment from them if you wish to gain anything from your reading that will find a place in your mind. To be everywhere is nowhere. People who spend their whole lives traveling abroad end up having plenty of..." of places where they can find hospitality but no real friendships. Basically, what Seneca is saying is that you have to linger on the works of these master thinkers, that you read them not just once, but many, many times. I find that I can dip in and out of Seneca, but every time I read him, I take away something else. And I think that's because Seneca's writings are informed, again, not just by his thinking, but also his deep experiences with loss, with pain, with grief, with power, with greed, with money, right? Seneca's one of the richest people in Rome, so as he talks about money or finances, as he talks about wealth, he's speaking about this really from experience. One of the things that really struck me reading Seneca in my early 20s is he talks about choosing yourself a Cato, right? Picking an example, somebody whose life you're going to model yourself against. He says, choose yourself a Cato. Choose someone whose way of life, as well as words, and whose very face mirrors the character that lies behind it. Pick someone whose wonder of who will be always pointing to him as your guardian or as your model. He said, there's a need in my view for someone as a standard against which our characters can measure themselves. Without a ruler to do this against, you cannot make crooked straight. So I love this idea of picking a model, picking someone who you are checking yourself against. You'd say, what would Cato do in this situation? What would Seneca do in this situation? What would my grandfather, my grandmother do in this situation? What would Jesus do? Doesn't matter what it is, but he's really talking about philosophy as a way of picking your heroes, choosing your heroes, and then modeling yourself against them. One of the reasons I have this Seneca statue in my office is a reminder of to see what Seneca would do in a situation. Sometimes I want to do it, sometimes I want to do the opposite. One of the things I think is most fascinating about Seneca is the wide breadth of philosophy and ideas that he draws from. Yes, Seneca is a Stoic philosopher, but you'd be surprised the philosopher he quotes most in this book is actually Epicurus, right? For Epicureanism, it's a rival school to the Stoics. But Seneca says, I'll quote a bad author if the line is good. He says, I read the other philosophers like a spy in the enemy's camp. He's trying to learn from everyone and everything to be a better, wiser, kinder, smarter human being. And to me, that captures the essence of the philosophical lens that Seneca's coming from. Seneca really talks beautifully about how we are spendthrifts with time, that we don't value our most precious resource. And we should, and it's tragic that we don't. He says, look, if your neighbor came over and parked their car on your property, if your neighbor built a shed on your property, you say, what is this? Get off, you can't do this. But if your neighbor wasted an hour of your time, you would let them, which is insane because you can get more property. You cannot get more time. And so, he talks about how we have this insatiable appetite for accomplishments at the cost of time. I have this quote actually up in my office that comes from necessity. He says, the one thing fools all have in common is they're always beginning to live. They're always putting things off. And he says, some of us, we lack the courage to change. He says, we lack the courage to live as we should and instead simply live as we have begun. We just stay. We're afraid of challenging the status quo. I would say one of the most powerful essays in Seneca writes is his essay on anger. And it's sort of written to his brother, that's what it's dedicated to, but in fact, it's written to Nero. He's trying to advise Nero and all Romans about the importance of being in control of oneself, because this is what leaders have to do. He says anger is a kind of madness, and he says that delay is the greatest remedy for anger. He says to get angry is like returning a bite to a dog or a kick to a mule. The point of Stoicism is to be unperturbed, to not be riled up, to not be at the mercy of your great passions. One of Seneca's most famous exercises, he talks about premeditatio morum. He says, practice, anticipate all the things that can happen. He says, exile, war, torture, shipwreck, all the lots, all the terms of the human condition should be before our eyes. And as I said, it's good that he thought this way because he does suffer shipwrecks. He is exiled. He is tortured. Ultimately, he's executed, right? Seneca does not live an easy life despite his privilege and success. Seneca is prepared for this. He says, the unexpected blow lands heaviest. What we anticipate, we take the bite out of it. So Seneca is always thinking about what could happen, not to become anxious, but to prepare for it. And I know sometimes people think, well, if I'm thinking about the worst case scenario always, isn't that going to make me depressed or scared or anxious? Seneca says, no, this actually is not what we're talking about. It's about preparation. And he says, look, to suffer in advance is the wrong way to do it too. He talks about how often the things we imagine that we're worried about are honestly worse than whatever happens. He says, we suffer more in imagination than reality. So part of this for Seneca is also being present. It's balance. It's like, how do you think about the worst case scenario? Prepare for it, have a plan, and then you can be fully present, because if it does happen, you know what you're going to do. If it doesn't happen, you keep doing what you're doing. And this is a really important balance. In Letter 107, Seneca talks about adversity. And again, we know he's talking from experience because life has kicked this guy's ass. He says, life is no soft affair. It's a long road you've started on. You can't but expect to have slips and knocks and falls. And Seneca talks about adversity. And again, we know he's talking from experience because life has kicked this guy's ass. He says, life is no soft affair. It's a long road you've started on. You can't but expect to have slips and knocks and falls. And so we have to be prepared for these things. We have to be tough. And Seneca says, it's good to experience this. He says, there's no one I pity more in this world than a person who has not experienced adversity. They don't know what they're capable of. They're not ready. As you're reading Seneca, you're seeing all the tough things that happen. You should be like, oh, I hope that doesn't happen to me. You should think, well, how have I been tested? What adversity have I dealt with? What do I know that I'm capable of, right? And that's what we're trying to cultivate. The Stoics practice training, right? The Stoics prepare for adversity, so when stuff happens, we're ready. In one of Seneca's plays, I think he talks about this. He says, this is a beautiful one. He says,
hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today we're going to talk about how hard money loans work, how they work, especially real estate deals specifically. I've had a lot of people ask me those questions. For house flippers or people doing large real estate, a lot of times you're going to use a hard money lender to get your deal done. I want to explain that right now. Alright, so today's gonna be a fun episode. I actually first learned about this. I had a good friend. He had flipped a lot of homes. And he had flipped, I think around the time it was about 200 homes. He had flipped himself or his teams had gone out and flipped. And I'd heard of this concept before, hard money loans. But I sat down and I was like, he kept saying, oh, we'll use hard money, we'll do this. And he would always mention different terms, points, interest rates, negotiation stuff, fees, title insurance. But I didn't know what it all meant. And finally one day he sat me down and I said, hey, can you teach me hard money loans? So he sat me down and he taught me what I'm going to explain to you guys. And it helped me immensely to understand. Even lenders on big real estate cars will use this type of financing to get deals done. Now, a lot of misconceptions say hard money loans are so expensive. Yes, but they still make you a lot of money. The example I'm about to share will prove that you'll still make a lot of money even when borrowing money from an expensive lender. Alright, so what is a hard money loan and why do you need it? So I'm going to go over the whiteboard of truth and justice. A lot of justice happens on this whiteboard. So we're going to map this thing out, do a few examples, and hopefully you'll get it all. Now, for the podcast, that's fine. I'll talk through everything, but if you want to hop into the YouTube video, you can see any diagrams, something out. Okay, so hard money loans are typically for real estate, and specifically a lot of times for house flippers, people doing fix and flip, stuff like that. Now, why do you need a hard money loan? What usually happens is in real estate, you're flipping a house, you find this beautiful house over here, and it is right here, a little smoke cloud on it. Okay, it's, let's call it $250,000 purchase price at an auction, and you need to close very quickly on this house. A lot of times they'll say you gotta come with a cashier's check, you gotta prove of funds, because a bank to approve like a mortgage to go flip this house is not gonna work. It's gonna take them a couple weeks, maybe a month to get back to you, and that's too long. These people want to sell these homes fast. So unless you've got $250,000 cash in your pocket to put down, you're gonna need another source of money, and that's usually where hard money lenders step in. Because typically hard money lenders can get you money very fast. I mean, sometimes it's 5 to 10 days. They can have money in your pocket, and sometimes if you have a relationship with them, they can close in 3 to even 5 days or give you proof of funds. You really work with them to be your finance partner to make sure you grab the best deals at the auction. So they specialize in speed of getting deals done fast. Now, why are they called hard money lenders? A lot of times it's because their terms are a little bit higher than usual, right? It's hard money. They call it hard money because it's a little bit expensive money. However, it gets the deal done. So for example, on this $250,000 house that we have over here, let's say they do 100% of the deal. Okay, they're going to give you $250,000 to go and purchase the house. Now, your plan is to fix it up, do all the renovation, and your plan is to maybe spend $50,000 in renovations, and you're going to sell it for $400,000. So you bought it for $250,000, you're going to put $50,000 in, and you're going to sell it for $400,000. So you're going to make $100,000 on this transaction. Pretty cool, right? So a hard money person will say, hey, we'll give you $250,000. We're going to take a first position on the property. Now, I got to explain positions for a second. First position on the property means in the capital stack, they get paid out first. So you see this with homes, you have a mortgage, you get a second mortgage or a third lien on it or something. For example, say there's 3 positions on a house. So you have a first position, second position, and a third position. What that means is if the house goes into foreclosure, gets sold, first position person gets paid 100% first. Second position, then if there's leftover money, then gets paid some leftover, and then third position, if there's leftover, gets paid some of their money. As you can tell, as you go down the capital stack, if you're in second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth position, the chances of you getting paid back go down, down, and down because of the nature of how that's structured. And usually, as you go down the capital stack, the price of money gets more and more expensive. So a first position mortgage right now is like it's 2.5%. If you got a second position, they might charge you 4.5%. And then a third position might charge, I don't know, 8 or 9 or 10, whatever it is, percent for a third position because it's a riskier loan. Hence, they want to make more money because they're taking more risk. Okay, so back for example, a hard money lender, they want to give you $250,000 and they want a first position on the house, meaning they essentially own the house. If you don't pay them back, they're going to take the house themselves. Now, a hard money lender typically wouldn't do a deal like this unless they believe you're buying that house for a very good deal. If you're buying it for $250,000 and they're like, man, it's a scream deal, I'll give you 100% LTV as loan to value. Okay, loan to the current value of the house is $250,000. So if they're going to do the entire purchase price, they're going to give you 100% LTV. Now, I always fight with people because I do hard money loans. People always want to explain to me LTV is after remarket value, ARV. So for example, here they're doing 100% LTV loan to value, which from the lender's point of view is a little bit risky because what if this house drops, so the entire stock market drops 30% overnight? Well, shoot, they're out of luck. You say, hey, well, I can't pay anymore. They have to now take the house and they take a loss on their $250,000. That's why with a lot of my loans that I do not do 100% loan to value. I'll say, hey, I want to do 80%. Okay, I'll do 80% of the purchase price. You got to put up 20% yourself, but I still get first position. What that does is make sure you don't walk away from the property because you got 20% of your own money in the property. But it just depends on the hard money lender you're working with. Some people do all sorts of things. Okay, that's what I'll do 80%. Some people in this example will do 100%. All right, so back to the board, truth and justice. Okay, so let's say they did $250,000. They want a first position. We know what that means now. They're doing 100% LTV, and you're gonna put in $50,000 to upgrade the house, and you're hoping to sell it for $400,000. Hard money lenders typically want to do short-term loans. They don't want to do stuff over a year because it hurts their returns. It hurts their IRR. You guys have seen in other videos. The faster you turn money, the higher the IRR you get. So let's say they're gonna do this loan for 6 months. Now some lenders will say I want a monthly payment. Some lenders will say I want a balloon payment at the end of 6 months. So 6 months and 1 day, I want $250,000 back plus my interest rate of, I would say 12%. Seems pretty typical right now. So they'll do a balloon payment. They'll say, I want all my money back in 6 months and 1 day. Everything's due. They're doing $250,000. They're going to help buy you the house. You're going to put in $50,000 yourself, and you're hoping to sell it for $400,000. And they want a first position, and they want it's a 6-month loan, and in 6 months and 1 day, everything's due. So what are some typical terms that they have on the loan? How much they charge? What's percentage points? All that kind of stuff. A lot of hard money lenders will do this. They'll say, hey, I want a couple points up front. Let's call it 3 points and 11% interest. So 3 points of $250,000, 3 percentage points would be $7,500. They want up front $7,500. They want to do the deal to get them out of bed, to pay for lawyers. If you back out of the deal last second, they've done all this work. They want to get paid. Now you can negotiate with them. Who's going to pay for the title insurance? Who's going to pay for the legal docs? Who's going to pay for all that? That's negotiable up front. Sometimes that's inside the points. They'll say, hey, of the $7,500, we will cover the legal docs, but you got to cover title, or we'll cover title, you cover legal docs, whatever it is. Sometimes they'll say, hey, you're covering everything else. We still want 3 points up front to get us out of bed to make sure we do all this and work. But that's what they mean by percentage points. And then below here we have 11% interest. It depends on the firm. Sometimes they charge 11 points. They'll say, hey, we want 11 percentage points. Whether you It's in 6 months or 3 months or 2 months and we want 11 points. Some firms will say, hey, we want 11% interest annualized. So on this loan, it's a 6-month loan, 11%. And that really means that you're paying 5.5% because it's an annualized number. Again, it depends on who you're dealing with and who you're talking with, or from a lender's point of view, how you want to pitch your deal. So like I said before, there's a lot of negotiation that goes on here, how many points, how many interest. And a lot of hard money lenders, though, if you're on the real estate side of things, they usually have their terms laid out and they say take them or leave them. That's typically what they say. They say this, we do 3 points, we do 11%, we do 75. Like, this is the deal. Take it or leave. You can go to somebody else. There's plenty of hard money lenders. This is what we will do for you, but we will have money in your pocket in 7 days. And yes, I think you can push them on a few things, but a lot of times they have a lot of deals and they want to be prideful and they'll say, nah, just go to somebody else. They'll kick you out and they want to have that realm. So they are not someone that has a reputation that's negotiated with. All right, so we're getting all messy on the board here, but back to the example, okay? 250 grand, they go down. Let's say you bought the house, it goes great. You put in 50 grand of your own, or you use whatever else financing. And sometimes hard money lenders will give you a line of credit you can draw down to do the flip for the other 50 grand, whatever. Let's say though you put your own money in 50 grand and you sold it for $400,000. Awesome. So you made 100 grand profit on this house flip. And Chip and Joanna Gaines are giving you high fives and you're like, I'm sick. I'm gonna have a TV show and like a year from now, I'm the champ of the world. But you gotta still pay back your hard money loan. So you pay back the principal on the sale. 250 grand is back, and now you've got to pay their fees. You've already paid 3 points up front. You've already paid the $7,500 up front, and now you got to pay 11% interest annualized, so that would be 5.5% points on 250 grand, which is $13,750. And no, I did not that mental math. I had to go get a calculator because I want to make sure it's right. Pay them $13,750. They're happy. They got their points. They got everything. They got their money back. And now you get to keep about 80 grand from this deal. Because you paid at the beginning, you paid $7,500, you paid 13 here. You keep about 80%, about 80 grand from this deal. And you're still high-fiving Chip and Joanna Gaines. You're excited. Like, this is what we did. So hard money loans, they call people have a bad term hard real estate guy. I've got to now put it on sale and sell it. I'll probably take a loss. So I usually do, hey, up front, I'll do 70 or 80% loan to value. So 250 grand, I'll do 80% of 250 grand. You got to put your money in there. But then on renovation, I'll give you, let's call it a $50,000 line of credit, and you can draw it down $10,000 at a time. And I want to check up on the house. I want to make sure the money is going into the house. That you're not faking it and you're going to take my money and go gamble on something. I go to Vegas, right, try to make more money there and pay me back. I want to make sure that it's going to the asset that I have a first position lien on. That's one example for hard money loans broken down. That's probably the most simple way to explain it, how they work on both angles and how both sides think of it. Now, some lenders go a little bit deeper. If they're, let's say that's another house, okay, different example, it's $1 million house. Somebody already has a